Hi everyone, it's Heidi from flutterbyheidi.co.uk. I'm Heidi Smith. I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator based in the United Kingdom, and today I'm playing with Eden's Garden. So this is a early release bundle from the January to June catalogue 2022, and it's a lovely stamp set with distinctive stamps. You get lots of lovely texture along with sentiments, and it comes with these lovely Eden dies, beautiful wreaths and foliage, as you can see there. So that's an early release. This is a limited release, so the paper that goes with it is only available in the pre-release. It won't be available after it's been released. And we've got these lovely papers. We've got some gorgeous gems as well, some garden gems, and we've also got some soft succulent and evening evergreen cotton paper. So if you're into want some really textures, you can stamp onto it, or you can use it for binding if you want, if you're doing a mini album, so you get a lovely lovely spine on it. So I haven't got a sample of that to show you because it's elsewhere. Anyway, these are the papers, lovely evening evergreen, soft succulent and gold, and they're gold foiled, so you can see gold foiled on the one side, then a more generic pattern on the reverse. Hopefully you can see that lovely shine. Then the reverse is obviously either evening evergreen or soft succulent, or is this ombre paper. So lovely patterns here. This one's really striking. A sliver of that would be absolutely beautiful. There you go, soft succulent, and then again some lovely foiled papers there. So those are the papers, and as I say, limited edition, so if you want those, get them while you can. So I thought it was time I did another little treat box, and this one's not for Ferrero. It's actually it could be for jewellery, or it could be for anything, and this is based on a box by Stampin einmal eins. She's created this box, a triangle box, and all you do, you can see here, is when you open that out, those two flaps open out, and it's a bit like my kind of butterfly box years ago. I'll put the link to that in my blog, and you'll see it holds four. This is to give you an idea of size. 4 Yankee candles fit in there, so it's a really good size and quite deep. So it's 2 centimeters deep, so 4 of those will fit in, and then it just folds up like so. And then I've used the diagonal ribbon on that as well. You can see the lovely edge piece here that I've used, and some more of the gold foil there just to accent it. So let's get started. So we're going to need to do some die cutting. So I thought I'd do that bit first. I'm just going to use my mini cut and emboss. So this will be fine for most of the for the smaller dies in the die set, but obviously that big one, you'll need your main die cutting machine. So this small one, the bar, so we'll cut a bar, the little foliage accent, and that lovely stitched edge works perfectly on those. So I've just cut a 1-inch piece of gold foil, and I'm just going to attach that like so. And then all I need to do is grab my plates. So on the mini cut and emboss, and on the cut and the embossing machine, you've got little lines, so make sure your dies don't extend over that. It gives you the sandwich. I keep a plate for the top. So it's probably gone all shaky for you. Not quite as straight as I might have liked, but I'm sure we can work with that. And you'll see these just pop out. I've got a bit of post-it note tape there, but pop out perfectly. And then I'm going to want one of these in some basic white. So just pop a piece of basic white there. When I put dies through, particularly straight ones, rotate your plates, but I also put them on an angle, and obviously the reason for that is because it helps to keep your dies flat. Helps stop them curl, and it helps them go through and cut more evenly as well. There we go. And again, you'll see those just pop out absolutely perfectly every time. Okay, so pop that away. And now I should show you, probably saw, I keep my dies on a magnetic sheet in with the relevant ones, particularly where they coordinate, along with a little pouch of any extra die cuts as well. It just helps keep it all together and ready to hand as well. So clear the decks of scraps, pop those to one side. I'll show you what I intended to do. I intended to stamp that as well. So I'm using soft succulent ink. So I have kept the colour palette of the paper here. Stamp, tap, tap, tap. Make sure, I'm using my grid paper here. And I'm just going to pop hello there. Because I don't want quite the full length of that, so I'm going to just cut that down as well. And this is a great way of using up your scraps. So I just wanted some end pieces with the gold. So I've just literally, I've used some self-adhesive foil and I've just cut a couple of end pieces. So I thought I'd pop those, either pop those on the front or on the back of your die cut as well. And again, any scraps of foil, just die cut little bits of foliage out of your foil. You'll be surprised how often you then come to use it and you've got an accent already prepared. So hopefully cutting that reasonably square. Okay. And because I've cut these with the our adhesive sheets on the back, and what I'm going to do here is I'm not going to overlay it on the, so you'll see this one is this end. I'm actually going to add this one to the opposite end, because that way you get a little bit of white poking through as well. So I'm going to shorten this slightly, and we'll add that back on. So just take a little bit off the end and just take a little bit of glue and just dab that on the end there. And again, you can use where the straight piece is to actually pop that on straight away. Then again, same idea. I've got another one here and I'm going to just add that on. And because it's a gold, obviously it just looks like an extra accent there. Flip that over. I'm just going to pop a bit of adhesive on the back. Because that just takes a little while. Being foil takes a little while longer to glue. So just keep that to one side, and then while we've got it out, let's pop our dimensionals on the back. I've just happened to have mini dimensionals to hand. Obviously this is sized really well for our large dimensionals. So that's going to go on the side. So that's our stamping and die cutting done. And now we're going to get on to the box construction itself. So you're going to need your trimmer and you'll need your extender bar out as well. I've got the measurements in inches as well, which I'll pop on my blog. Some like as always, I put wherever I can, I do them in inches as well as centimetres and put those onto my blog. So you'll want some card that is 6 1/4 by 11 inches, so 28 by 15.8. So 15, 16, 17, 18. That's my 15.8, and then just trim that down to 28. Okay. Then while we're on that long edge, we're going to score it at 8 centimetres, 10, 18 and 20. And then on the short edge, I'm going to score at, this is where they're kind of slightly, there's some narrow measurements. So on the one, I'm going to score at 1.9. Flip that around, so I've scored that on the right hand side. 1.9, 3.9. Just make sure it's well butted up as well. 3.9, 11.9 and 13.9. Okay, so that's our scoring done. Other things that we're going to need, you're going to need a piece of contrast card for the top, which is 7 by 7, 4 pieces for the sides, which are 1.5 by 7.5. Then I'm going to want 2 pieces of DSP, so you can kind of choose which ones you want to use. I'm going to use for my DSP, yeah, so for my DSP I want a piece that's 7 by 7. And I want to cut that in half diagonally as well. So that's one piece, cut in half diagonally. I'm going to cut my piece of contrast card in half diagonally as well. And then I want a different piece of DSP, which I'm going to cut at 7 by 7 as well. So the 7 by 7 is an underneath layer. The 6.5 by 6.5 is the layer. Oh, I've done both those 7 by 7, I haven't I? Oh, what a twit. Okay, I've done them all the same size. That's a bit rubbish. Okay, let's just see if I can. So the layer you want is actually 6.5 by 6.5. There we go. So I've just trimmed the edge off that to give a narrow border. So make sure I trim the other one the same. Keeping it straight. There we go. All right. So, okay. So just to go back. So you want a piece of card 7 by 7 cut in half, a piece of DSP to layer onto that, which is 6.5 by 6.5, and then a second different piece of DSP, which is 7 by 7 cut in half. That's for the underneath as well. Okay. So there we go. Right, get there in the end. Then you want your layers, and these are 7.2, so 1.2 by 7.2. So I'm just going to cut this at 7.2 and then cut my 1.2 pieces off there. And you want 4 of those. And the last one. Okay. Right. So the next thing you're going to need is, having done the main scoring on here, we're going to do some trimming, and we're also going to do some diagonal scoring as well. So you'll want take your pick and a ruler, and you're going to come from the second score line here to here, and you're just going to score diagonally once across there. Then you're going to do the same on the other end, so down from the second score line, and it's the first one across, down to that third score line. So you've got your score lines here, and now what I'm going to do is do some trimming. So the first thing I'm going to do is trim away this top square here, I'll try and show you all the cutting first because it'll make sense. So top right and bottom left, you're just taking one rectangle away. Okay, and then top left, you're going to take two rectangles away. Okay, so top left, two rectangles, and bottom right, those outer two rectangles. Okay, so it's going to look like that. Now I'm just going to cut away this tab here, either side of that middle section. Oh, and I've gone wrong. Okay. What I've actually done, I've cut my tab away there, but it doesn't matter. We can rectify that. Right. So if you do something like that, just take one of your pieces, and we're going to create a false tab in effect. So if ever that happens, just take a piece that's, so this will be about 2 centimetres. And all I'm going to do is on the inside of here, I'm just going to add my tab, in effect, back in. Just goes to show, I mean, you know, it happens, particularly when I'm doing a video. And yes, I could go back and edit it out for you. Well, I could try. But I generally, as you know, I generally don't edit my videos. And the reason for that is because if I make a mistake, I want you to see that mistakes do happen, and how you can correct them. Okay, so let me just trim that to the size it would have been. Okay, so we take top 2 and bottom 2, top 1, bottom 1, and then you cut those outer tabs on the middle bit there. Next I'm going to come in and I'm going to cut horizontally down and notch those tabs, because those are the ones we're going to glue. I'm also going to take just a sliver off the edge there. So notch the tab, sliver off the outside. Turn it round and do the same again. So normally we'd be cutting that, but notching it, notch that outer piece, straight down the middle, notch out the tab. Okay. So after that, that's the sort of piece that you should have in front of you. So now what you want to do is fold and burnish these score lines. So grab your bone folder, and when you do it, just make sure that these are lining up as well. It's a box, so we do want to burnish. Now, whatever glue you choose to use, I'll be using some wet glue just for some speed, and also because I've run out of Seal Plus. Or I've run out of the refill. Can't believe it. And because I do batches of videos, obviously you'll find there's a batch where I just haven't got any seal. Okay, so now we've done this corner piece here that we've scored, again fold it with the score line, then back on itself, and the same on the other side. So use the score line, and I say I'm doing it so gently, and then using that bone folder to reinforce the crease. Okay, so now while it's flat is the time for us to add those layers on. So with it, so if you imagine this piece is going to fold up, so we're turning it over and we're putting those larger DSP pieces underneath. So these were at 7x7s. Just pop those in there. And I just thought it was a bit of fun because obviously, you know, you're going to see underneath those flaps as well. Now if you wanted a different shape box, I've done a rectangular one of these, so do have a look on my videos, you'll see that as well, slightly different. Okay, so once you've done those two and you're happy that they're in place, flip over. So now what we want are our other pieces with our DSP. So these would have been, if I'd got it right, my 6.5 centimetre pieces, then cut in half. Just give a narrow border. And the reason I haven't layered the other one up onto some card is just to reduce the bulk, because it's going underneath a flap. You could add a layer if you wanted to, but I just felt it would add a bit to the bulk of it. Might not be quite so good. So again, just add your adhesive to the back there, pop those onto there, and the same again. And all I've done there is put some Tombow into a fine tip bottle. I just find that I get in less of a mess with it that way. Okay, so now those are drying, we're going to add some adhesive. So on these 4 little tabs we're going to add our glue, and obviously you're going to either use some wet glue. I'm using an old Fuse. This is the equivalent of Seal Plus. Really good adhesive. And you're also going to add some adhesive to that outer flap. Okay, and then quite simply we are folding at the side and lining it up with the corner on all 4 sides. And it will help if you fold that flap back on itself. Just see there. And the last one. And then fold this top piece over, and that just gives a really neat finish on the inside there. And this is where your bone folder is really useful, so really burnish that well, make sure that's adhered. Now what I've forgotten to do is add my sentiment onto there, but we'll do that in a moment. Okay, so having done that, as you close the box you want to just trim this outer flap very, very slightly. Again on this one, I forgot to do those earlier. So there we go, it's just those outer pieces, very outside edges. And really now all we need to do is do our decoration. So this is where I meant to add it before I'd put my DSP on it and made the box up. I've just decided I'm going to make that a little bit narrower. I just want a very narrow bit on here, because then I won't have to cut it at quite such an angle. And all I'm going to do is just take a pen and just mark where I'm going to cut, just where the DSP is. That's why I would have done it when it was flat. Best laid plans and all that. There we go. So all I've done is I've just marked, and I'm just going to come across and cut kind of the nearest leaf on those and just trim away. Like so, and at an angle. And then that can be popped on as well. I think this will just bring that gold foil to life, really. There we go. And I've just added that to the bottom edge on the one side. Just be careful it doesn't slip, obviously using the wet glue. Okay. So now all that remains is for us to add our layer onto the other side and fill our little treat box. And as I say, this would be great for a bit of jewellery. So you know, it's big enough for 4 of the Yankee tea lights. Other tea lights tend to be a bit smaller, shallower by that, so there'll just be a bit more space on the depth. Because you can see Yankee candles are a bit deep, so I've got some others here which are just slightly shallower, and it just fits 4 of them in there perfectly. So all you need to do is close that up, fold it back, close that up, and fold it back. And then with the ribbon, I've taken around about 70 centimetres, and I thought it was rather nice if we held the one flap down at the front, at the back even, tie it closed at the back, and bring round and have that ribbon tied on the front. So I'm just doing like a surgeon's knot, so take it through once, then a second time, because that will hold that reasonably tight while you create your bow. And just tie a bow. Now I've used the soft succulent. This comes in the evening evergreen as well, or there's the evening evergreen woven ribbon. I prefer the lighter colour of the soft succulent, I have to say. And there we have our pretty tea light box. Thank you to Stampin Einmal 1. A fun little box with some tea lights in. When you're popping to a friend's, go with a bottle of wine would be perfect, and if you're not, then it would be perfect for Christmas or a winter birthday, using our lovely Eden's Garden. So thanks for watching. Come back and see me again soon, and please do hit the subscribe button and the little bell for notifications, and then every time I publish a video you'll get a little message to say and you can have another look. Thanks for watching. Bye.